Nico, if you only had 1 minute to give artists your best advice for how they can run their ads to promote their music on platforms like Spotify, what would you say? 1 minute on the clock.
All right. So my advice would be pretty similar to what it was last time. I would say the most important thing is finding a system where you can produce and release and promote music in a very consistent way, so that you enjoy the process of doing it and actually give each of your tracks the potential it deserves. And if you do this consistently, you'll start building momentum, and you'll start learning from first of the music production, but also in the music marketing of what works and what doesn't. And yeah, after a while, you'll see success, and you know where to go to keep growing it.
Nice.
Yeah, specifically for me, if I can continue going,
Yeah.
it has used a lot of meta ads, because that's how I've been able to keep things consistent. Because for me, relying on TikTok or Instagram Reels sometimes works, but mostly doesn't. And I don't want to depend on an algorithm like that to promote my song solely.
Obviously, there's a lot of benefits to social media and that it's free and you
Yeah.
can just post content and get traction, but it's pretty much impossible to guarantee virality, or not even virality, just any sort of success.
Yeah. I mean, it's already so hard to go viral, to get a video actually like blowing up. And then to get that video to actually like promote your music and not just be a random video that doesn't go anywhere is even harder. And then doing this with each of your release or then your album like further down is personally for me impossible. Some people are able to pull it off, but I feel like you have to actually be really good with editing videos, being consistent and being disciplined about it, and also about the editing and knowing how to caption your videos, and yeah, be very creative with it over and over and over again, and have the discipline to keep this going for a few months. Then then that's how it works. It's rarely like uploading 3 videos and then your song is being promoted by the algorithm. And yeah, it's just with a lot of artists that I've worked with and a lot of friends and me personally, like for me it drains so much energy and time out of the whole process. So if you can do both, like the performance ads as well as the organic, that's the ideal case. Like if you can do that, like you're in the best hands. It's just, yeah, I kept hearing it over and over again. It's just post content, post content, post content, and like it's not bad advice, but solely that I think in most cases is gonna exhaust you and kind of burn you out before you get anywhere. In a lot of cases.
Yeah, I think unless you want to be a content creator as well as a
Yeah,
music artist, you're probably going to, a lot of artists have trouble handling the volume and the quality and the creativity you need to create content because
yeah,
it just takes a ton of time. And, for everyone who doesn't know, Nico slash Gent here, you have almost 3 million monthly listeners right now. So you've
yeah.
been quite successful at promoting your music. You got 2.7 million monthly listeners right now. I think you peaked at like
Yeah, I dropped down a
4.5
little bit.
a couple
Yeah,
of
yeah,
months ago or something, which was
yeah.
crazy.
I had one song
um,
completely blow up, and like all good things in life, it had to come to an end. But
yeah.
yeah, still very, very blessed about having so many people listen to my music. It's incredible. I never thought it would go this far. Which is why I'm doing this,
Yeah.
because like I feel like so much music out there and so many artists could be so much bigger, but mainly like have their music heard and give their music a better life. Um, and yeah, what I do, I don't feel like it's rocket science.
Mhm.
It's just takes a little bit of a learning curve to get around, and once you have it, I think I can recommend it to every artist out there.
Well, today we're going to get more specific because we've done an interview before, and in that we talked a lot about concepts and just music industry general tactics, but we didn't show anything super like specific. We didn't dive into your ads manager. We didn't talk about the exact audiences you've tried and what types of video you've done exactly. And we're going to do that because I got the comments from the last video pulled up, and I got some notes, and I think the best way to start is let's just show people how you do what you do with your ads, since that's the
Yeah,
bulk of it.
for sure.
And
Yeah.
so, I guess without further ado, the floor is yours for a little
Let's
bit.
do it. Let's do it. All right. So I'll sum it up first in words, and then I'll share my screen, and I can show you a few case studies of, first of all, tracks of mine, and then also some tracks in of my clients from my agency. Because yeah, I also read the comments, and a lot of people are wondering if that only works for house music, which is not the case, and I want to prove that. So yeah, basically, boiled down, what I do is I focus on my ad creatives, which are multiple clips, multiple videos, instead of just testing one ad, because I've seen the biggest difference, like from the performance, coming from using different clips, like much more than actual interests. While I test those as well, it's yeah, I usually try between 8, 15. At this point now, I try maybe sometimes 25 different creatives for a release. And
Mm.
yeah, the way I edit them, they're not. It's really also not hard. I'm not great at video editing. Um, what I do is I use clips from my either my camera roll from a party that I go to, or from me filming outside the train window or something like that. And I mix it with some clips I found it on Pixels, or ArtGrid is also a great website. ArtGrid is paid, but Pixels is free, um, to find some high quality footage. It can literally just be like a drone shot over the mountains or something that somewhat fits the vibes of the track. Um, and I just put the lyrics over it, and then on the drop or when the drums hit in or something, I add the cover art with the title and out now. I'll show you
Mhm.
an example, but that's basically it. And like that, I just have to edit one version of it, and I just duplicate it 20 times or 10 times depending on the budget, and just replace the clip. It's literally all my ads are usually just one clip. Um, you can of course try different angles, and it doesn't have to be like that, but that's just like what's worked for me, and it's been an easy way to do this every month for all my releases. um,
Sweet.
and yeah, and then I use those to promote on meta ads, and basically just place these ads on Instagram reels, stories, and the feed. And yeah, what I do is pretty like I invest into these tracks pretty front loaded.
Mhm.
So if I would have €1,000 budget, I would put a third of that literally into day one. So I can test out all different creators and all different target interests, and basically find the best combination of both as soon as possible, while also giving Spotify as much data as possible in the first day or two, or like in the first week, because from my experience, that's what's really um, cause the algorithmic playlist to kick in later on. It's like the more attention your song gets in the beginning, and the more data Spotify gets of who saves your track, how many times it gets saved, to what playlist it gets added, next to which songs it gets played to. Um, the more it's the more knowledge it has to then push you out in radio and Discover Weekly stuff the following weeks and months. Um,
Nice.
but yeah, that's basically how I promote my singles. I also promote my playlists in a very similar way. The only thing is, it's not like a release day where it's so important to get so many saves in the first 2 days or something. Um, but yeah, I just test out a lot of different creatives. With the playlist, I try out few different songs. Um, People do ask me if using other people's song is okay. In theory, that's not allowed. So what you should do always is you should message artists. Do it with smaller artists that are just starting to gain traction, because they will respond. And for any artist, it's like a win-win, really, because you're promoting
Yeah.
their song for free. So most people will be happy to allow you to use it for that.
Yeah,
Um,
I've got a lot of people ask me like, "Hey, I have this hip hop playlist, and I don't actually make hip hop music. I just want to start adding a hip hop playlist to my catalog of playlists. And can I use a Drake song? Can I use a Kendrick Lamar song? Can I use a whoever?" Um, and my answer is typically like pretty sure that legally no, you can't use their song in an ad because you don't have their permission. However, two, you
yeah,
will almost definitively get away with it. So do with that what you will, essentially. Like I know so many artists, labels, and stuff who just say screw it and they use whatever songs they want. It's just you're definitely doing that at your own risk, because if that Universal Music Group or something gets wind of it, they might just tell you to take it down, or they might sue you. So
Yeah, yeah.
you
You
definitely want
never
to be
know
careful.
with the record labels. You gotta
Yeah,
be
I
careful.
mean,
I mean,
because
in
like
theory, they're only
for
benefiting from it. So, as you said, I think in most cases
yeah,
you will they will let you slide with it, but I will not advise people to do it because it is against policies.
yeah, it'd be much better to hit up someone like you, or one of the artists on your like someone who's not as huge on a major label, like someone you can
Yeah.
contact directly and get permission from, and
Mhm.
someone also that understands the value of it. Like especially if you're, let's say someone hit you up and they're like, I want to use your song in an ad, and I'm going to have your song first in the playlist. From your perspective, you're just getting a whole bunch of promotion for free. So
Yeah, exactly. I would say,
it's
hell yeah, please come be my guest.
yeah.
Uh,
For honestly, for the most part, me too. I mean, like as long as it's just promoting a Spotify playlist and my songs in the ad and my songs in the playlist, it's like I think that's a win-win for everyone. Now, from your ads, where do you recommend people send people? So you use a landing page, so people convert
yeah.
from your ad and they go to a landing page and they click to go to Spotify. But from when they click to go to Spotify, do you send them to your artist profile directly to the track or to a
Directly to the
playlist?
track. I go on the track, go share track link, copy that link, and I put that into my landing page, which
Cool.
can be a tone then, or you just told me submit link. Submit hub has a link now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's multiple different options. So far, I've used tone then, but yeah, we just as we just talked later, I might be switching. Um,
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people watching this probably have World War II flashbacks from when Tone Den went down last year.
yeah, hit me as well. I saw, I was like, something's off. It took me like 2 days to realize and check into the ads manager, and I see everything is
Yeah,
at zero conversions. Nothing's tracking, nothing's happening. What's going on?
yeah. It was like a doomsday scenario. I know
Yeah.
someone that never noticed it, and they left their ads running for like 6 months,
Oh no.
and they burned like 3 grand sending traffic to a dead landing page just because Tone Den
Shit.
never told anyone. So that
That
was
sucks.
definitely a bummer. Yeah,
That
sucks
sucks. Big
real bad.
time. Yeah.
Now on a song like looking at your catalog, you have I'm guessing "In the Dark" was the song that went crazy
Mhm.
good, just because
Yeah.
it's got 60 million streams and it's
Mhm.
it's probably on track to hit 100 mil eventually. I don't know what the back end looks like, but so let's not look at that one. Well, unless you want to or you have it pulled up. But
I
like,
can
let's say
pull up a few
something.
songs. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be great to know, like for something like just like a more typical track like yours, like Sun is Dark or Feel the
Mhm.
Vibe or Often or any of those. What kind of budget do you put into something like that, and what did the breakdown look like?
Yeah. I mean, nowadays I'm very blessed to be able to put much higher budgets in there. Now I put in between 1 and 4,000 into my tracks. Um,
Sweet.
yeah, but I started with 300 bucks. I think going much lower kind of limits you on how much you can test.
Yeah.
Still possible too, but yeah, I like a good range is between 400 and 1,000 bucks. I think, um,
Yeah, I think so too.
and especially in the beginning, I would say start with a smaller budget because you're still learning things and like things do go wrong, like something putting in the wrong link or having the placements wrong or forgetting to narrow down your interest by Spotify or something. And then like I've seen a bunch of little mistakes happen here and there. So I would say if it's the first time you're doing it, start with a smaller budget so you kind of get used to it and get the hang of it. But
Yeah.
yeah, well, for the most part, for like the last, not this year, but because this year I only released like 2 tracks because In the Dark was doing so well. But the years before,
Mhm.
I was releasing every 4 to 6 months, 4 to 6 weeks, and yeah, there I spent around €1,000, between 600 and €1,000 on my releases.
Yeah, even 4 grand, which is the top end of what you mentioned, you typically spend now. That's not a crazy budget. I mean, to a lot, obviously it's a lot of money. Like you can buy a shitty car, but you can buy a car for that amount of
Yeah,
money,
no,
right? Like
sure.
my first car, I think cost $2,500. I mean, granted, this was in 2010 or something, but um, it's not a crazy amount of money in the grand scheme of music. Like I've run $25,000 ad campaigns for songs.
Yeah.
The budgets, especially for labels, can get very large very quick. So with something like In the Dark, was that a 4K or because what I would
It started
assume,
with being a 3K, 4K, but then just on day one already, I saw that the ads were performing so well. Like I was getting ads at
yeah,
8 cents, 7 cents per conversion. So I'm like, okay, let me put some more money towards it, and then as always, I catered it down to like $30 a day.
mhm.
And let me share my screen actually, so I can show you.
Yeah, yeah, I'd love to see it.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
Yeah,
and then we'll continue from there. So it already started being like one of the best releases I've ever had. Like for me, getting 11, 16,000 streams in the first 2 days was already like, wow, like that hasn't happened before. Um, and yeah, it really did well in the first 2, 3 weeks. First month, it was normal. And then I was able to put it into discovery mode. And literally a month after I released it, it just went pretty much crazy. I went
mhm.
skyrocketing. And then if you look at it like this, it's basically here where it happened. It grew. And it grew, but like still slowly in that scale. Like you can see, it went from 36 to 39,000, which at the moment still felt like absolutely crazy. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, here I just literally kept it running at $30 a day because I was like, okay, it's worth promoting. It's still growing. And I would say, what, 3 months, 4 months after, it just kind of went crazy. All algorithmic. Like it didn't get added to one editorial playlist. Is wasn't really played in the radio. There was no one reel or TikTok that went viral. There were people using the song, but
yeah,
yeah, no video that got like 10 million views or something. This is
right,
all
right, yeah,
all this, and then it hit the peak. It was October, around last time when we talked, and yeah, it has been going down, but I think that's a normal thing.
yeah. Every song eventually goes down. It's
Yeah,
just a fact
but
of
still
life.
nothing to complain about. You know, it's still
It's
getting a
still
hundred
getting
thousand.
over 100,000 streams
Yeah,
a day, which for reference, like a kind of average country distribution, I would expect that's like $300 a day, right? 100,000
yeah,
streams a day is about $300 a day. Depends on the countries,
yeah. No,
and
it
also the
yeah,
fact you're in discovery mode. So Spotify's taking their 30% cut on radio
yeah,
streams and all that. But
yeah. Here you see the
current
country
scheme of things,
breakdown.
100K a day is pretty damn amazing. Oh yeah, it's mostly U.S.
Yeah,
and then
U.S.,
followed by a
Germany,
bunch of
Australia.
other, like Germany, super high, like in the grand, like high paying country, just like the U.S. Same with Australia. Same with UK and France and Canada, Netherlands. Brazil and Mexico pay like
A little
half or
less.
a
Yeah,
third, but
yeah.
still, um,
But these are very important countries because the meta ads are much cheaper to target to there. And most
yeah,
of my ads in the beginning, which I'll show you later, I'm targeting at tier two in the beginning of the release, so I can get more data cheaper, quicker. And
mm,
I've personally think, and I've heard it. There's nothing I can prove, but that growing in these countries and being big there then gets you promoted into radio and Discovery Weekly in the US and
yeah,
stuff like that. Because most of my ads don't land in the States. Like most of my ads actually get seen in these countries, but then when the algorithm kicks in, it kicks in like globally.
same. Yeah, when
Yeah.
most of my ad spend goes to Brazil and Mexico, but my number one country for all my music projects is the US. Because once you
Hmm.
get pushed out in Discover Weekly and radio, it doesn't matter what countries triggered it. They push you out wherever they think your people will be. And for whatever reason, for me, it's mostly been the US. I've had the occasional song pop off in like Germany or Australia or something,
Hmm.
but I don't know if they're like, oh, you're a US artist, therefore we're pushing you to the US, or it's just maybe there's more fans of my style of music in the
I
US,
think
but
that's what it
clearly it's
is.
the
I
same
think
for you.
first Spotify has to understand who your audience is, like what other artists they listen to, and yeah, what other songs they listen to. And once it kind of figures that out, it then looks for people in like other markets, like the States and stuff, that kind of fit that.
Yeah, yeah,
That's how
makes
I do it.
sense.
Yeah. So
Um,
this song I can even show playlists. It's almost
yeah,
everything coming from radio.
yeah. So
Um,
do you recommend to most people to use discovery mode? Because obviously it's a little bit of a controversial tool.
Mhm.
A lot of people hate it, and there is kind of the payola aspect of it. But
Yeah.
what's your take on it?
So I get why people don't like it. I think it's a very backhanded move from Spotify to artists like us, because basically, from how I see it, is that they had the algorithm before already. It's just now, in my opinion, and from what I've seen, songs that aren't in discovery mode almost get pushed out like nada. And yeah, and they're taking 30% of the streams that they're boosting you with. But that's
Mhm.
kind of what it was before already. Um, but yeah, it is what it is. And at the moment, I would tell everyone who has it to use it, because literally only the songs that I have in there actually get pushed out in the algorithm. Every other song, no matter how many streams it got before or stuff, basically like just went downhill once discovery mode was added, and I didn't
Yeah.
include the songs in there. Um,
I
yeah,
know
I
an
can.
artist that was hovering around 200,000 monthly listeners for several months around the time
Mhm.
Spotify Discovery Mode was being rolled out. And they were like, fuck this thing. Like, I'm not giving them, because radio was the
Yeah,
biggest the reason they normally would float around 100, but then they were up near two, and they're like, I'm not just going to give Spotify 30% of like the bulk of my streams. So they didn't do it. And then over the
hmm,
course of 6 months, they fell dramatically in radio. Like the radio basically vanished.
yeah,
And so eventually they opted in, and they that put them up to like 120,000 monthly listeners or something. But it's like they kind of got screwed over kind of
yeah,
bad by the whole arrangement. And it's overall, I tell people the same thing. Like if you have it, use it, because it they'll push out your songs further, and if you don't, they're not gonna push you out as hard, if at all.
yeah. And
Um,
I think generally, like, the goal should always be to grow your music, to get new listeners to discover
yeah,
what you do. And for me, radio is the number one discovery tool for out there,
yeah,
because it's really, and it goes hand in hand with the ads, because like how I was explaining, the the ads basically provide good data to Spotify, much better than if my song just gets pushed in playlists or something where people skip it or don't save it as much.
hmm,
um, and every stream that I get through my ads, let's say I pay 20 cents for one stream, it's not like I'm paying for just the one stream, because first of all, that person who actively clicked on the ad and saved the song is gonna listen to it more times. But also them listening to the song multiple times then triggers the algorithm or the radio playlist to then show it
yeah,
to 20 or 30 other people similar to that listener. And yeah, it can really become an exponential thing, as you can see within the dark. Um, and I
yeah,
can show you other songs where this happened to as well. I'll admit as well that this does not work with each track. Like I have plenty of tracks that just don't go bananas like that, but
yeah,
it's doing it over and over again. I mean, this was the Sun is Dark track, which for the first month I thought was doing pretty horribly, because here it was three artists. It was me, Paco, and Nosy, two friends of mine, and we thought the song had great potential, so we all put budget in. So I think on this one we
yeah,
spent 6,000, and or I don't know, between 4 and 6,000. At first, we thought the budget was, and yeah, it just wasn't performing at all. As we turned off the ads, it also went down pretty drastically. And as of this moment, we haven't had any ads launched anymore. Like I think here something we turned off the ads completely. Is that okay?
yeah. If you click on the saves view, I find that's kind of a nice way to visualize what happens with ad spend, because like
Hmm.
your saves are typically directly proportional to your to new people coming, which basically
That makes
means
sense.
directly
Yeah,
proportional to your ad. So you can see
around
your
here.
super high spend on day one, and
Yeah,
then you can kind of see how the speed at which you ramp it down, and so by June 16th, your ads are down super low or off entirely by then.
yeah.
Um, you
But
know,
still, even though even listener the saves don't go up that much, the streams have been going up and up now, and which is again almost everything thanks to radio.
yeah,
Um,
it's it. Did you find, and maybe you didn't maybe you weren't doing stuff back in the day when this was a thing, but do you find that over the last like couple years, there's been a flip from Discover Weekly being the dominant playlist to radio being the dominant playlist? Because that's what
Yep.
I found.
Yeah, 100%. I think Discover Weekly is out. I feel like Spotify is slowly discontinuing it,
Yeah.
because it's not doing anything anymore in comparison.
Every so often, I'll see an artist that still crushes Discover Weekly and
Hmm.
certain songs, but like most people I see now,
Yeah, I think.
radio's king of the castle. It seems like it makes sense from Spotify's perspective because they can justify taking 30% from Discovery mode in radio, but not in Discover Weekly.
Yeah,
Um, so it is what it is. But
yeah. Similar thing. Like for me, it's always like it peaks. Sometimes when I'm lucky, it actually goes up within the first week, but usually it just peaks and goes down. And then within the next month, it just goes down as I turn off my ads. And after a month, 4 weeks or something, I turn off all my campaigns, put it into discovery mode, and that's when it then takes a life for itself, where basically I let it do its thing and live.
yeah,
If the ads are performing really well, I'll still keep it running, maybe at $5 or something a day, just to keep on promoting the track. But um, usually not, and I used to not do that at all. Let me show you a track maybe that didn't do so well.
do you Oh yeah, that'd be cool to see. So you're not a fan of
Yeah.
just leaving your ads running. Like you're pretty quick to kill, like get them into
Hmm.
discovery mode, turn them off, or if anything, keep them on just a couple bucks a day. Like you don't like leave it running for like 50 bucks a day for months on end to try to keep
No.
pushing it harder.
Mm-mm.
So a
Mm-mm.
lot of people will ask, how do I know when to turn off my ads? Like, do I turn it off when I get in the algorithm, or do I double down when I get in
Um,
the algorithm? And
no, I would say you start turning it off once you hit the algorithm, because you've paid, you've done the work of giving the song life and giving Spotify knowledge. Once you get into the algorithm, you then kind of let it do its thing, because
mm,
that's how Spotify gets its own data. Um, like here, example again, like as you can see, it didn't do that well. It was on 10,000, I mean, only at this point. Back then, it would have been a great campaign, but yeah, me and Paco, who released this song together, we also pretty quickly realized, okay, it's been a month and now it gets 3,000 songs. I think we should probably cut our budget here and keep it for our next track.
mm,
Um, and yeah, actually, it's not doing horribly. Like it's still doing better now without spending anything than we did in the beginning.
yeah.
But it doesn't have that crazy growth yet. Maybe I can show another song to get down, just so people kind of understand that. Uh, oops. I mean, this was released a while ago, so it's on a big downtrend because it's much older than a year already. But yeah, this is where you'll make your money back from your campaigns. It's not in the first week. It's not in the first month where your money starts coming back. Because yeah, some people are like, "Hey, just spent $1,000 and I got 50,000 streams, or 20 or 100,000 streams, or whatever." Like that doesn't seem like a good return on my investment. But it's
Yeah,
the months after, like the 3 months, 6 months, 12 months after, where you're accumulating streams from the algorithm, is where you then break even and then turn into a profit eventually.
right.
Yeah.
A lot of artists, I don't think you have to profit off your streaming, and I think like a lot of artists, they don't assume they will. Their
Hmm.
their approach is like, I can't book shows if I don't have fans. I can't sell Patreon memberships if I don't have fans. I can't sell merch if I don't have fans. So Spotify is just the place where they find fans, and not just Spotify, but all streaming. And so, like, let's say they run a campaign for, or they spend $10,000 in ads over like a year, and over that year they recoup five. And
Hmm.
then maybe the next year they recoup two, and then like lifetime they recoup 75% of their ad spend. So it's still a loss. But if
Yeah.
they've gained, 15,000 fans who listen to the music regularly, and like of those 1% come to shows, like that's still a lot of people who are now
Yeah.
coming to shows. And once you factor in that revenue, it's like that for a lot of artists. The live and the Patreon and the merch is where their actual money comes in. So the streaming for them is a loss leader. For
Yeah.
you though, it's your bread and butter. Like you actually make a living off the streams.
Yeah, which I think a big part comes into not me not being signed to a record label or a distributor. I keep
Yeah.
100% of all my royalties and all my masters, which makes it easier. And I'm a producer who's by himself. It's a different thing if you're a big band. But as you said, it's the streams and especially the Spotify algorithm that has the power to get your music out there and for new people to discover music. And yeah, it's once you grow there and with the ads, you also simultaneously grow your Instagram.
Mhm.
You kind of build a platform for yourself for which you can then sell merch or sell tickets or do whatever you want to do. And it's, yeah, as I said, it's like a long term game. It's really like, I wouldn't even say 1 year is enough. It took me personally 2.5 years, almost 3 years until I was like making money that was like able to put food on the table. Like,
Yeah.
um, but I was also doing a bunch of things wrong in the beginning. My roommate at the time, Paco, it took him a year to break even. Um, and yeah, it might take people longer. The time may take people faster.
I like that you mentioned you don't spend the same on every release. Like if it's going bad, you pull it
Yeah,
so that you save that money for the next one. Because a lot of artists will spend the same budget for every release, but let's say one of your songs is getting 80 cents a conversion, and then the next one's getting 20.
yeah,
One is essentially four times cheaper per
yeah,
listener per dollar. So
yeah.
your money's going to go four times further. And so what I do is for my own music is if a song's going badly, I might spend $200 on it before I give up. Usually not that low, but it depends how bad it's doing, I guess. And then
Hmm.
on the flip side, if a song's doing amazing, I might drop 4 grand on it. And
Yeah,
it's like I'll kind of think up at the start of the year, I'm going to allocate $1,000 per song, but it's like the losers get 200, 300 ad spend, and I'm saving 700 a song. The winners, it's 2, 3 grand, and out of 10 songs, I personally assume that out of 10 songs I release, that two of them will probably be amazing performance wise, two of them will probably be awful, and the other six will be somewhere in the middle.
in the middle.
Just
Yeah. This one has been doing extremely well. Like it's actually one of my best releases so far. So it might actually, hopefully, beat in the dark in the future. So far, it looks like
it's
it
on
is.
the trajectory too, so that's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's doing really well. And for that, the ads pretty much. Let me put the 30th of February until now. So
Mm.
yeah,
Oh, and you're
it's
getting 15 cents a conversion in tier one only.
yeah, and these tier ones, which are it's also pretty surprising. But yeah, I spent just that you know is we put this on two ads account. So right now it probably spent around 3,000, not 2,000. Paco also has some ads running,
Mm,
just
gotcha.
for clarification. But he's doing the exact same thing as here, which is a few different creatives. So he has to get some promotion on his Instagram account. Um, but yeah, if I go into one of these,
Yeah, that's a good amount of ads.
it's a good amount of ads. I mean, how much did I have here? I think I had 8 or 9.
Looks
And
like, well, it's
then
14 Oh, no, never mind.
yeah,
That's
I have 8 or 9, and then Paco also has the other 8 or 9. So in total,
Oh,
we
wait,
had
wait.
like
So the way
15.
you're setting this up actually is interesting. So you're using ad set budget optimization, and then these are all ad sets, but
Yes,
you
these
have
are
them
all ad
labeled
set.
as ads. So they all
Yes,
basically are just targeting fans of electronic music, and you're doing that so you can uniformly spend like five per day on each video.
exactly, exactly. So to clarify, that's a big thing that people get confused on, and this is really my strategy. Um,
Mhm.
is I don't have the CBO campaigns. It's the budget is set on the ad set level. I put them at €5 a day. Unless I don't have that much budget and a lot of creatives, then I would go down to 4, but nothing lower than that. And I also wouldn't do anything higher than that, to be honest.
Gotcha.
Like I would keep it at that rate, and then each ad set here has a different creative in it. I mean, there. Ignore that it says ignore that it says number one here, please. This is just my bad organization. If you're doing this yourself, you should actually write at 8 here, and then at 6, which is a sorry. If you click on at 6, yeah, it's a different video. Each of them are different videos,
Mm.
and after well, yes, I mean, I tested out. I now have a few more running, but the majority of them I have turned off. And I realized now that number 6 and clip 8 are the best ones. Sometimes add one, and
Mm.
the copies here just means that I took down a few more countries to make it more tailored to what I want people to listen to. Like, I think here in the copies, I took out some more countries to make it more tier one. But yeah, if I go into one here, you have the creative level, um,
Yeah,
which
I think the
is,
screen
as I
share is
said, it's just
still
one clip.
catching up.
Oh, um,
I'm
with
assuming in the
some.
final video it's up to snow. Oh, here we go. Yeah, the final
Yeah.
video is probably going to be perfectly synced, but for me, it's like so now I see the
Okay.
creative.
Okay. Yeah. So as you can see, the creative is just one clip that I took out of a club. I put the lyrics over it, and then I drop my cover art. And this is the same thing that I've been doing with all my releases since 4 years. Um, and then all I do here is I put the song title with an out now, an emoji. You don't have to copy me, but you're free to. I won't be mad. Um, yeah, I put my landing page here. Make sure my pixel is actually connected. Or maybe we can blur this number. Do we need to?
You don't need to. We
Oh,
can if you want, but
okay.
yeah, the pixel. Anyone can technically go to any website and see the pixel on
Okay. Well, then
right. So if
don't.
someone wanted to see your pixel, they could just go to Ad Library, look up
Okay.
Gen Beats, find all your ads, see your landing pages, find your pixel. So it's public anyways,
All right.
essentially.
Okay. So okay, no need to.
Yeah.
And yeah. So let's click on a different ad. Ignore that it says ad one here. I was just lazy. Um, with the naming, but you see, this is just a slightly different clip. Here in
Are
this
you
one, I guess
also
I did
tweaking
test
the
out.
part of the song too, or are you only changing the video clip?
I actually only choose one part of the song, unless I'm really confident in the song, um, or I don't have that many creatives. Then I could try out two different parts, or like if I'm really not sure which part would do better. But in my experience, it's always like you want to start the ad right with the best part of the vocal of your track, and if your track does not have a vocal, then you want to put it like right before the most energetic thing, that like it's
Mm.
not like right on the energetic part, because then people like kind of skip over it quicker, I think, but to something that builds up to it.
Yeah. When do you actually test different interests? And I mean, I can see them right here. It looks like the
Yeah,
way you do it is you do different campaigns for different interests.
exactly. So once I do one campaign, let's say I campaign one, I create one on day like the day before the release, 1 through 8 ad creatives. I would have 8 ad sets here. In each ad set, I have one ad creative. Each ad set here has the same target interest. It's always um, it's always the genre or whatever interest I'm targeting, narrowed down by Spotify. So all I do then is I duplicate this entire campaign, and while everything is duplicated, while everything is selected here, all I would have to do here is, let's say I do this into Deep House. I already created it, but let's say I wanted to
Mhm.
change it to Deep House. I click here at the top so I can automatically select them all at once. And all I have to do here is click Deep House, knock that one out. I only test one interest, um, so I can see what performs well. If you put more of them together, then you might not figure out which ones works the best, and then for your future releases, you might not be as informed as if you do it like that. And yeah, and I just hit
Yeah.
publish, and like that, I duplicate every single ad creative um, into a new campaign, where now the interest is changed.
Every so often, a lot of people ask me, what is your CPM for your different ads, and what is this other obscure metric, or what's your watch time? And the answer is basically just like you. I don't care. I look at cost per
Yeah,
result and results and amount spent for the most part, unless something really weird's happening, like my click through rate's really low on the landing page, so I'm investigating Facebook to see why or something. But for the most
yeah.
part, I don't worry about it.
I also ignore pretty much every other metric. Um, the other thing that's important to look at is tone, or like tone is what I use, but the click through rate on there. Sometimes I have clients and stuff that do things wrong, and then they get like a 30 or 40% click through rate on their landing page, which also sucks because then you're basically dividing your performance and what you're paying for into half. Um,
Yeah. Well,
and
what kind of click through rate do you find is acceptable?
acceptable is over 70%. Usually, I want it to be between 80 and 85%, but it's usually more between um, 75 and or seven between 70 and 85 is where I would like it to be. Um, I would
I
show my
think
tone
that
in,
checks out.
but I'm just checking it out right now. I have all of our clients'
Yeah,
um,
yeah, that's
all of our
cool.
clients' stuff on there, so I can't show it. But I can tell you that it's all between 70 and 85%.
Where should the
Okay.
people come find you, and what do you want to plug for them to go check out?
Sure. So yeah, as Andrew already said, I have a blueprint. It's called the Independent Artist Blueprint, where I basically just put everything in there in terms of meta ads, in terms of being consistent with music, and all the other little things that I do. Put it all there and made it as easy to read as possible. Um, and with that, we started Independent, which we now have a community, and we have a productivity planner as well that kind of helps you actually stay on track of all the things you um, give yourself out to do and your image. And we're trying to build as many tools as possible to make it as easy as possible for independent artists to grow their music and to make a living from it. So the website is independent.com. You can check it out either online or on Instagram.
Cool, man. Thanks for coming on. This was fun.
Thank you, Andrew. Really appreciate it. As always, love talking about Facebook ads. It's not that many people that understand it,
Yeah.
and I feel like your audience is the best one in the entire world in terms of promoting music. So really appreciate you having me on here again.
Thanks, man.